Hi everybody, welcome to my very first video. I'm super excited. I got my table all set up and I designed this cute card with a piece of cake bundle from the Occasions catalog that I'm super excited to show you. So here's the stamp set. We will be using this saying happy birthday, sweet thing, and just a cute cake from there. So, first I will just go through all the materials that we'll need. So I kind of made this handy dandy card stats sheet that you can all look back and refer to when you're cutting your cardstock, choosing your ink, and your DSP. So, to do this card, we need an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of powder pink, and then we use flirty flamingos. So we have 3 7/8 by 5 1/4, and 1 13/16 by 3 13/16, and that's just kind of funky because we use the rectangle framelits for these, and so it just kind of matches the dimensions of those. And for Whisper White, we have standard 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I already used my framelits, but that's going to be for this layer. And then 1 3/4 by 3 3/4, which is this one, again, to cut out a layer with the rectangle framelits. And then some scrap paper for the cake. And for our DSP, I used the Brights 6x6 designer's paper. This is the flirty flamingo color. You can use whatever pattern you like. I like the polka dots because it matches the tulle ribbon. Here is the pack of designer series paper. Again, just get the flirty flamingo. And here are the rectangle stitched framelits dies. I used these two. If you open it, they are this one, so the biggest one, and this one, so again the biggest one of the longer, skinnier ones. Also, for this card, you're going to need the cake builder punch. Again, I told you I used the bundle. That gives you the punch and the stamp set all in one. You get a 10% discount. We will be using Flirty Flamingo and Gray Granite ink, as well as some Stampin' Write markers. And we will be using the polka dot tulle ribbon in Whisper White. And some jewels. Okay, so let's get started. First, I will show you just how to build the card. So I'm going to start with my 8.5 by 5 1/2 standard card that makes a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 size card. Use my bone folder to make a nice crease. Then I have my 2 layers here that I would like to put together. First though, I'm going to stamp the sentiment on there. So I'm going to take my Gray Granite, here's my stamp, and I'm just going to stamp that right in the corner. I have my handy dandy chamois. I just got this thing and I love it. I'm going to get more for my classes so we can stop using wipes. Okay, I can close that up for now. Next, I can just use my glue to glue that on there. These layers don't leave a lot of room, so just make sure you're lining everything up properly so you don't have to take it off and do it again. Okay, then I'm going to take my ribbon and cut just a little longer than the length of the paper here. Always cut on an angle so it doesn't fray. And then I'm just going to use standard tape to tape these to the back. And then I can layer my DSP on there. Make sure this is even. So with this, I'm using the double-sided adhesive. You could use liquid glue if you want to. That's just not my preferred way. And I'm just going to stick that on there. And then we can adhere this to the card right away. Okay, now is where the fun begins. So I'm going to put this aside for now. So, the cake builder punch is kind of funky because it punches out both at the same time. And I'm sure if you're an avid stamper, you know that having two things that you need to punch out can be difficult just because when you stamp them, there's no way to line them up correctly. So that's where the handy dandy Stamparatus comes in. I'll show you my secret for what I did here. I have made a template for the punch. And I'm just storing it inside the case for the stamps. So all I did was take a scrap piece of paper, I opened my punch, I stuck it in there, and I just traced. I held my thumb down on it like that, took a pen and traced it, and that made a nice template, and I made sure to label it so I know. Then what I did was I took the two stamps that I want, so the cake stand and then what cake I wanted. I lined up my paper and my Stamparatus, and I just placed the stamps on top of the paper so that they were nice and lined up, and then I just folded the plate down and pressed it so that the stamps would stick to it. So now that I use my template and I have those all ready to go, I'm going to use my scrap Whisper White and again my gray granite ink. Open that up. Put some ink on there. Put this back in and stamp. Nice and easy. Oops, I missed a little bit. No big deal with the Stamparatus because you can always just go back. So now that that's done, I can bring my punch back. Put the ink and line this up ever so nicely in the punch. How cool is that? Come on. So that nicely cut out my two pieces. A little extra work in the beginning, but now the hard work is done and I can just use the template every time that I want to use this punch. Okay, so now that I have my cake, I want to color it. Here are what I'm using. I have Stampin' Write markers in Flirty Flamingo, Sahara Sand, and Powder Pink. And obviously you can use whatever colors you want to. For the base, the cake stand, I just use Sahara Sand. Colored that in nice and quickly. Okay, this one's a little trickier. Flirty Flamingo for the icing. Typically when I color, I feel like I have my head down like inches away from my paper, so try not to get my head in the way of the camera here. It's a little bit difficult. Doing this whole video thing is going to be something I have to get used to. Let's see. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I'm happy that I have all of the stuff that I need to be able to make that happen. I'm excited to show you guys a little more of my process and how I like to stamp and my, I guess, way of doing things and making things easy on myself. Okay. Then my powder pink to fill in the rest of the cake. You could also use your Stampin' Blends markers for this, if you like those better. I don't have a lot of the Stampin' Blends yet, so I'm just using the regular ones. Going old school here. You could also use the colored pencils if you would like, or you could use the ink pads in the blender pen. Okay, so now that my cake and the stand are done, I will show you how to put this together. So what I did on here was, since you can see I have the candles, I just kind of lined up, you know, where I want the candles to be. This time I'm using the Flirty Flamingo ink pad. I'm gonna ink that up. And then I just kind of move them to the side and stamp that right there. Again, using my Simply Chamois to just wipe that off. Oh, I love this thing so much. Look how clean that makes it. And then when I rub this, nothing comes off. It's beautiful. Okay, close this up. Then I did color in the candles with my powder pink. Maybe if I put my glasses on, it'll help me. think you can do things without your glasses, Paige, but you can't. All right. So just coloring these in really quickly with the fine tip. And then I do have the Daffodil Delight just to make the candle flames pop. Okay. So now, first I'm going to attach the cake, just because if I attach this first, then it might not line up properly. So I'm going to use my dimensionals for this. Oh, that didn't quite go where I wanted it to. Oh, perfect. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to line that up. Really right about there. And then I'm just going to use my double-sided adhesive to glue down the cake stand. Like that. So now that I have that, I suppose I should have put these together first before I use the dimensionals. I'm just going to use my adhesive and glue this to this Flirty Flamingo layer. And then I'll bring back my card. I did use dimensionals to pop this up as well. I used to be really skimpy on dimensionals, and now that some of my cards have been sitting in drawers that I've made years ago at camps from other people, and they're kind of caving in, I've kind of learned that I need to use a few more in the middle of things. So that's just a little note to self. Your cards might look pretty now, but when you store them for a while in a stack or something, and maybe you didn't have a dimensional in the middle, or not enough, especially in a big piece like this, it might start to cave in over time. And we want our cards to last for a long time. Okay, and then I'm just gonna line that up. Looks good right there. All right, then what I did was I used my Wink of Stella in clear, and I just went over the base, the cake stand, and then the icing just to give it some glitter. I feel like I use this thing on more cards than I don't use it on. I'll build the glitter here. I love that you don't have to like really be precise with this. Just kind of wherever it goes, it goes. So I don't know if you can see the sparkle in there or not. Okay, and then the last step is to add, again, some more sparkle. So these can kind of just go, you know, wherever you think you want them. And there's our finished project. So I really love this card. I think it would be adorable for, you know, a friend that you're trying to be funny with, you sweet thing, or, you know, just a little girl that's in your life. And yeah, I guess that concludes my very first video for you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'm super excited to start doing more of these. Hopefully this wasn't too bad and I'll get better. All right. Thank you, everybody.